I'd like to welcome everybody to the Pittsford Board of Education meeting and ask that you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could I please have a motion on the to approve the agenda?
So moved. Oh, second.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Renee. Any edits? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. I'd like to invite Mr. Balsamo up for principal's report.
And I have a small team of colleagues joining me tonight. So good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to share with you information about the opening of the school year at Park Road and things that we're going to focus on this year. And as I said, I have a team of colleagues that are joining me tonight to talk about what we're working on, and I'll have them introduce themselves to you as they speak. So if you remember last year, we had the opportunity to go first and also present in October of 2021. And in retrospect, we might have been a little overly optimistic in thinking about how normal last year was going to be last October. Because as we all know, it wasn't quite normal. We were coming off the previous school year where kids were 6 feet apart and 20% of our students were remote. So last October felt like, oh, it's going to be normal. And it wasn't quite. But as we head into this year, I'm pleased to say things truly seem normal for the first time in a long time. It might not seem a big deal as you're looking at kids in an elementary school on a carpet, but truly that's something that we haven't had in over 2 years. And when we did have kids on carpets last year, we were always worried about putting dots on them and making sure that kids were first 6 feet apart and then 3 feet apart. So for better or worse, they can be right on top of one another this school year. But it allows for more meaningful interactions and class meetings. Classroom seatings, again, it doesn't seem like a big deal to have tables put together in classrooms or desks that are right next to one another. But again, those are things that we weren't allowed to do for several years. So think about elementary classrooms where kids have to sit 6 feet apart and can't engage in dialogue and discussion. So finally, over the summer, everything that was we had tons of furniture and tables and verties, all that stuff was put back together. And I'm pleased to say all those verties that were in our parking lots are now removed from our school and all the other schools around the district. Cafeteria. 2 years ago, we didn't even use the cafeterias except for special area instruction. Last year, we had to keep students several seats apart from one another, and we had to have assigned seating so that we could trace if we needed to. So in these pictures, you see fifth graders, and these are fifth graders that haven't gotten to sit normally in a cafeteria since March of 2020, and this is one of the first days of school, and they were super excited about being able to do that and actually choose who they were going to sit next to. Even recess is back to normal. Last year, for most of the year, we had students stay in their class with their classes when we went outside for recess, but now we go out as an entire third grade, and all the kids across third grade can play with one another. So it just opens up a new world in terms of what they can do at recess, but also the social interactions that they're learning as part of recess. Field trips are back, I'm excited to say. And, I was talking, we have our first field trip tomorrow, and I'm pleased that the fifth grade teachers, one of them's there, invited me to go on the Colonial Bell with them. I'm looking forward to the trip, not the weather. But so we're taking our fifth graders this is the first, I was talking with the fifth grader, this is the first field trip that this group of fifth graders at our school has been on since first grade. And think about what a monumental tradition going on field trips and a memorable experience for our students is for elementary students. So we have the Colonial Bell tomorrow. We're taking third graders to the Seneca Park Zoo in a couple of weeks. We're taking fourth graders to Ganondagan. So all these normal things that are such a rich and important part of the elementary school experience are back. One thing that's been unique and a frustration to a lot of our teachers the last couple of years, especially K and 1, is having to teach students foundations, which emphasizes letters and sounds and basic speaking skills and basic reading skills. So imagine as a 5-year-old trying to learn to your letters and sounds without behind a mask and without seeing your teacher's mask. And I think, or seeing your teacher's mouth when they're speaking to you and starting to learn those basics. And, we have seen a dip. Like the last 2 years, we've seen quite an increase in the number of our first graders who qualify for reading support. And I think part of that, this is correlation, not causation, but part of that is that the challenges of learning with masks on and not seeing your teacher's face when they're teaching you letters and sounds. I think we overcome those gaps after a couple of years, but we're still seeing that with our current first graders, a higher number of kids that are qualifying. So hopefully with no masks on and being able to teach foundations as it's meant to be taught, we'll see gains this year and particularly going into next year. So some of the goals that my colleagues are going to talk about focus on instruction and instructional technology, as well as social emotional learning. And you're not going to see anything new and different from what we've done in the past few years. What we're really trying to do is embed what we've been doing into day-to-day practice. So it's just ingrained in what our teachers do in the classroom and what our students experience day-to-day in their classrooms.
Hi, everyone. My name is Robin Pano. I'm the counselor at Park Road. I'm going to be talking a little bit about the social emotional learning and some of the initiatives we've started this year. So we build all our work around the CASEL domains. CASEL stands for the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. So there's 5 domains: self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, social awareness, and relationship skills. A big focus this year has been on Tier 1 services. We have seen a large increase in the needs of our students, so we've really been trying to be more proactive and focus on Tier 1 services across the board. We do this through our district counseling curriculum, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, our school-wide SEL initiatives, and incorporated into our daily classroom practices of morning meetings and classroom circles. So these domains are really embedded in our equity work as well. They're really focused on providing students with deeper awarenesses of their cultures, their backgrounds, understanding what makes them a unique learner and really embracing that for both students and staff. And it really helps our young people learn and empower their sense of empathy towards each other and their perspective taking. So the focus on SEL really is in conjunction with our academic standards. So just for some background, every dollar you invest in SEL comes back with an $11 return. And students that work on these 5 core competencies increase their academic performance by roughly 11%. So when students participate in these programs, we see not only improved behavior, but an increased ability for them to manage their stress, better mental health across the board, and just attitudes about school in general. So there really is a benefit regardless of what your focus is. We see the SEL benefit across all fields and competencies. So school-wide, we're really focusing on monthly themes at Park Road. So that means each month we have a theme to help build our sense of community. All staff members, all classrooms are doing the same theme, and we connect that to our book of the month. We do activities. We nominate staff members and students at the end of the month that really exemplify these themes. So September was community, and if you look around, our amazing art teacher, Mrs. Kirkby, who was here, helped make all these posters in our 5th grade. So our book of the month was What I Am, and this was what all our kids came up with of what they feel they bring to Park Road and what they represent. So we're super proud of this work that they did, and that's just one example of a project that one of the grades took on to demonstrate the theme. This is a picture of some of our student winners from September. So every classroom nominates 2 students each month that demonstrate the theme. It was a huge group, so we kind of cut it down for the picture. But they win an award, they get their name announced on the announcements, and then they come choose a prize. So it's really great. The kids seem super excited. They never know when they're getting called. We just choose them randomly, and we've had different staff members announce it. So it's fun to, see their reactions and have them come down. So the counseling curriculum we have worked really hard on for the past few years. We started this during COVID, and our goal was really to just align what our students are learning through our SEL curriculum and make sure that no matter where they go to school, when they go to middle school, they all have the same set of skills. So all kindergartners receive our We Thinkers curriculum. First grade, we work on the zones of regulation. Second grade is building on that zones of regulation and conflict resolution. Third grade is growth mindset. Fourth grade is anxiety and peer pressure. And fifth grade is really going into more of that self-awareness, self-control, and then we touch on online safety. So each counselor worked on one grade of the curriculum, and we all tried to make sure we had it aligned, and we are super proud of it. So this is really the first year that we feel like it's really being implemented with fidelity across all the elementary schools. And as Mark touched on earlier, it's been really nice to do a normal curriculum. So these are some of our kindergartners working during our We Thinkers curriculum. They had to do the group plan and work together to choose an animal and then build the animal out of Legos, which was hilarious. But they did a great job, and it was really sweet to see them working at tables and be able to work collaboratively together.
Hi, I'm Jackie Madden. I'm a fourth grade teacher at Park Road. So going along with our social emotional curriculum, a goal as a school to help support the social emotional needs of our students is incorporating a morning meeting throughout the day. Obviously, this is valued as the district level too, because I was able to do some morning meeting trainings in professional learning this summer and past summer. So the structure of our meetings is always relatively the same. It starts with a greeting where students are encouraged to use each other's names, make eye contact, and greet each other in the morning. And then it moves to a sharing portion where students are able to share about their lives, and then the classmates are able to ask questions and make connections with each other. And then it moves on to a collaborative group activity where students are working together to problem solve. And then it ends with a message, which then transfers to our academic day, so segues to the academic day. So these 15 to 20 minute meetings, they help motivate students and help address two human needs, which is the sense of belonging and the need to have fun. So once these needs are met with our students, we see that they're able to grow and work in an academic environment where they feel comfortable and respected. The repetition of these social interactions also transfers to our academic day in our literature discussions and math arguments. Students are able to know how to agree or respectfully disagree with each other and communicate in a successful way. So we're really excited about how morning meeting sets up our kids to have a successful day, and we've been incorporating them throughout every grade level at Park Road.
Hi, I'm Angie Stewart. I teach second grade at Park Road. In addition to morning meetings, we have peace tables that are available in all grade 2 through 5 classrooms. So peace tables are tools that guide small groups of students in peacefully resolving conflicts. Students begin with taking calming breaths, and then they use iMessages to share their thoughts and feelings. They identify the problem and then work together to generate possible solutions. When problems arise involving several students in the classroom, we hold restorative circles or peace circles. During these circles, we identify the problem that is impacting our class community, and then we share thoughts and feelings and determine how to repair the harm that has occurred within the classroom. All student voices are heard, and the class determines the next best steps in order to move forward.
Hi everyone, I'm Spencer Jones. I teach third grade at Park Road School. Students in each classroom in our school work together with their teacher to create and sign a behavior or learning compact early in the school year. Each of these compacts outlines the expectations for a classroom, and it provides a roadmap for achieving a successful school year together for all students. As part of this work, students may also create a shared list of values or goals, and sometimes they'll even write a class mission statement for the year. Some of these compacts may also include more specific rules of conduct that are generated by the students in each classroom. We believe in the value of this work and the fact that it's collaborative with the kids. We believe that writing, signing, and sharing these compacts in a public way gives our students a sense of ownership, pride, respect, and accountability throughout the building. Our intermediate and primary classes are paired together as buddy classrooms. Students in these classes get together on a monthly or bi-monthly basis to read to each other, to play outdoor or indoor games together, and work on other creative projects. Having a buddy class allows the teachers at different grade levels to work together and allows our students to build new bonds and friendships throughout the building. In the afternoon, we have 5th grade helpers who disperse to our primary classrooms. These students help the teacher and the kids in those rooms with dismissal routines every day. The helpers assist students as they're packing up, as they're lining up, and as they're exiting the classroom. They also accompany our youngest students outside to see that they safely board their school bus for home. This direct positive role modeling often creates a very special bond between our primary age students and their classroom helper. And one more thing on this slide, we also utilize a student safety patrol at Park Road School in the hallways and in the bus loop during morning and afternoon, morning arrival and afternoon dismissal. Our safeties wear a visible bright yellow sash that kind of identifies them. The kids work to encourage everyone to enter the building safely in the morning and exit by walking, staying on the sidewalks or paths, facing forward down the hallway. They also demonstrate leadership by helping to tie sneakers. They keep the hallways neat. They carry heavy items for other kids, especially some of the instruments that come in the morning. And they serve as greeters in the main lobby every day. Beyond Park Road, we have many community connections, and this is just a list of some of those outreach projects or initiatives and drives in which our students are engaged. One recent collaboration involved our 5th grade Girl Scout troop working together with our student council advisor to complete their Bronze Award project. At the start of the school year, the Girl Scouts provided each grade level with a color-coded mesh bag full of new recess equipment that they had purchased. They had actually sourced the material, purchased it, and organized it for us. So that one picture there is the new third grade recess bag. 2 other projects to highlight are the Share Your Treats program, which is a school-wide collection of excess Halloween candy, and then that's shared with multiple community agencies over the upcoming holidays. I don't know what we'll end up with this year, but in the past we've gotten between 10 and 15 paper ream boxes full of Halloween candy donated back to the school, and then we were able to do a lot of good with that. We also look forward to collecting thousands of personal care items, small toys, hats, and gloves so that students, teachers, and our families can assemble and wrap shoebox gifts for the clients of the Pittsford Food Cupboard.
Gonna turn
jump
it back
back
over to
in?
you. Yeah. So what we're going to
Jump
do
on.
is just give some highlights of, a big emphasis of what we're doing as our PLC work at Park Road, and there are things that we're doing in common across the building, but there are things that each grade level is focusing on individually as well. So I'm just going to have Spencer as a 3rd grade teacher and Jackie as a 5th grade teacher highlight some of the things that they're working on with their respective teams this year.
Spencer, are you getting extra stipend for coming?
Gee whiz, I'll have to check on that. Is that an offer? I don't know. After 17 years at Park Road School and 17 years in 3rd grade, I often have people ask me, how do you do it? And I'll tell you, it never, ever gets old. I am never bored in third grade. I love it. I feel home there. And it's just a special experience. So I'm proud to have been in the building for this length of time, and I'm happy to share some of the things that we're doing in third grade this year. Again, we always have plenty to do in third grade. Our curriculum is routinely modified to meet student needs and certainly any changing standards that are going on. This year we've updated our science units and we're studying butterflies and wolves. We also have 2 new social studies inquiries, which you'll hear about a little bit later. As a team, our teachers meet regularly to ensure proper pacing with units and to consistently administer and score common assessments. We're currently focused on the integration of foundations with a new version of our Spelling Connections program. We're also working with Denise Zobel, elementary math and science standards leader, to implement Number Corner, which is an inquiry and observation-based math program. Additionally, we're collaborating with Dave Moscato, who's a district technology teacher, to begin transitioning our third graders not away from the Seesaw platform, but into Microsoft Teams as a secondary platform, specifically for work in our 3 major writing units. So those are just some of the things that we're trying to tackle this year in third grade at Park Road.
And just to add on to what Spencer said, my name is Jackie Bowser. I'm a 5th grade teacher. Also in our PLCs, we spend a lot of time trying to focus on our long-term plans and how we need to adjust our pacing and try to match up in some instances within the team and with our learning specialists to make sure that we're all on the same page. So we try to meet at least once weekly. We have student success meetings, which is when we really talk about students and their needs for enrichment or for extra engagement opportunities. This year we're excited to finally talk about field trips, even though it's going to be super cold tomorrow on the Colonial Bell, but I've never been on a field trip since I've been here. So I'm very excited about our opportunity, and we've got another one in the plans. And it's just fun for us to also be planning for something that the kids are so excited about. And then just in general, our team needs and the team supports. We have a lot of team members. It's not just the 3 core gen ed teachers that we work with. There's about 8 adults who are working with our kids on a regular basis. So that's another thing that we talk about and how we can utilize people and resources in the best manner during that time.
Hi, I'm Tammy Fracci. I'm the librarian at Park Road. And there are many ways that we work to incorporate equity and inclusivity at Park Road. These include our Book of the Month initiative, which Robin had talked about, our continuing development of our library collection, our Book a Day program, school displays, and the development and piloting of the new social studies inquiries. We also strive to have an awareness of the backgrounds of the families in our schools and in our classrooms. And as Robin and Jackie talked about, classroom meetings and community circles are high priorities at Park Road. To give a little more information on some of these things, as Robin mentioned, our Book of the Month selections include a variety of titles, many of which provide our students with diverse experiences through windows to see into the experiences of others, mirrors that reflect readers' own cultures or identities, and sliding glass doors which allow readers to enter a story and become part of a world. Equity and, oopsies. I knew I was going to do that. Equity and inclusivity are also present in our library collection, which, following our initial diversity audit, continues to be a work in progress. One way we've been able to add some more diverse books to our collection is through a grant that our Park Road Library received last school year from BOCES School Library Systems. The grant allowed us to purchase $1,200 worth of books by diverse authors that depict diverse characters, locations, and experiences, and these are just a few of those titles. And as an update, we've applied for the same grant this year, and we will be finding out soon whether we got it, so fingers crossed. And I just wanted to point out that 2 of the books on the previous slide are written by Andrea Wang, who will be the visiting author this year at all of our elementary schools. We're very excited. Another way we incorporate equity and inclusivity at Park Road is through the continuation of our Book a Day program, with almost 100% participation from all general ed and special ed classrooms. Book-A-Day is a program in which the library distributes a weekly bag of 5 picture books to each participating classroom. Books are grade level appropriate, relate to curriculum and/or current events whenever appropriate or possible, and include culturally and geographically diverse authors, characters, and stories. This is a great way to get some of our newer titles into the hands of teachers and in front of students. And additionally, because classroom teachers are able to see more books that are part of the library collection, they gain a wider understanding of the collection and are able to see how books might work into their curriculum in the future. We also incorporate various displays throughout the school to emphasize diversity at different times throughout the school year. Last year, we hung over 60 posters around the school honoring individuals as part of Black History Month. We also displayed a land acknowledgement statement outside of the library for November, which is Native American Heritage Month. And we created age-appropriate pride displays in the month of June. So here's one that was outside of the library, and this is one that was part of in a fifth grade classroom. In a minute, Jackie and Angie are going to talk a little bit about the work we've been doing related to writing and implementing our new social studies inquiries. But as a lead-in, I wanted to mention that I had the amazing opportunity of being the librarian representative involved in the district's 3 days of writing the summer 2022 inquiries. I worked with all elementary grade levels as they developed their inquiries, providing insight into diverse book titles that matched the contents of the inquiries, and a few of those titles are pictured on this slide. I just wanted to say that this is what a librarian's dreams are made of. Anytime we can connect curriculum and support what classroom teachers are doing in the service of our kids is the goal, and I know this sentiment is representative of all the librarians in the district. We are very excited to have the opportunity to collaborate and match high-quality, culturally appropriate mentor texts with district curriculum.
Second grade has revised 2 of our social studies units to align them to the social justice standards. The first unit was piloted last year, and it focused on values, class rules, and roles of responsible citizens. And the second unit is being piloted this year, focusing on cultural identity and the positive impact of diversity on the strength of the class community.
So these are some pictures from this past summer working on the inquiry. So grade level, I was a part of the 4th grade level team who was able to work on the inquiry, what happened when multiple cultures interacted in the settlement of New Netherland, which I'll be piloting this year. And then as a 4th grade PLC, I know we talked about PLC previously, one of our goals is to really look closely at the inquiry that was piloted last year that we will all carry out this year, and making sure that we're looking really closely at the resources, which is although different groups of people do not have equal rights or freedoms, how did the people of New York work to bring about change prior to the Civil War? And we're very excited about the new resources and looking at that in, with the lens of equity.
In 5th grade this year, we're very excited to be added into the one-to-one computer initiative. So 5th grade classes all have one full set of computers that we have access to on a regular basis, which I personally am very excited about. And I know some of my teammates were a little intimidated at first, but I know it's a district initiative, and we are joining the 6th through 10th graders and also having this access, except we don't get to bring our computers home, which I'm happy about also. But we're really glad to be able to have the flexibility and not be stuck behind a rigid schedule of having to borrow and schedule computers and then decide when we want to use them for this exact purpose, because as we already talked about, pacing does not always work out perfectly. So now we have the option to give the kids an option. Sometimes they can write on paper, and sometimes they can work in the computer on a Word document or in a class notebook or make a PowerPoint. And it's nice to be able to give the kids that kind of flexibility, because that's what they'll be doing in the real world. We also have Seesaw and Microsoft Teams highlighted, because those are the learning platforms that are also, in some cases, the homeschool connection with parents. So kindergarten through 2nd grade are solely using Seesaw, and they use that to send out templates for the kids to work on, but also to have a communication with home. And 3rd grade is moving away from Seesaw a little bit more into the Microsoft Teams to have a few more advanced options. And that is something that we use all the way through 12th grade after 3rd grade. And it's a way for the students to have an assignment online. They can, again, still choose what kind of template they want to use, or we can choose it for them. And it's really nice to be able to have that option. And most of the teachers are also utilizing Microsoft Teams for their PLCs to help organize their thoughts and their work and keep everything in a concise location. And also, in the picture it's just my kids working. But all the classrooms also have a smart board, which is really fantastic, that the kids can use more than one child at a time. So we're really happy to still be able to use those upgraded interactive flat boards. And then the last thing that I wanted to highlight is that this year we have a second cohort of teachers who are completing the computer science and digital fluency standards. This is an initiative from New York State, and it is something that we are all going to have to implement by the 24-25 school year. And so now we have to integrate some computer science and digital fluency standards within our curriculum. So I'm in the second cohort of teachers who are going through this training right now, and it's a grant-funded program. We're in the capacity building part of this process right now. COVID slowed things down a little bit for the initial phase. But it's something that the computer science teachers will have to do next year, and then all grades K through 12 will be doing the next year. But I'm really glad to be part of it to learn how to integrate more easily in the regular day.
And I just want to lastly conclude by saying our Park Road community is very proud that we were recognized recently as a U.S. Department of Education Blue Ribbon School in 2022. We are recognized for our consistently high levels of academic achievement. This recognition, though, is truly a team and collaborative effort of our Park Road staff, our students and parents, as well as a recognition of our district's commitment to excellence and our Board of Education and Community's commitment to excellence and commitment that you've made as board members to our students and to our school district. So thank you for your role and support in that. And lastly, just want to say, since we're in October, we'd like to wish you, from Park Road staff, a happy New York State Board, State School Board Recognition Week. Thank you, board members, for your leadership and your dedication. Your role is crucial to our success, and we appreciate all that you do for our school community and our district community. Have a wonderful week, and thank you.
Thanks. Mark, I'd just like to say real quick, thank you for your presentation, and thank you for bringing your team. It was wonderful to see their dedication and passion as they presented everything that they're doing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, can I get a motion on the minutes from September 13th? Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Renee. Any edits? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. We also have to get a motion on the minutes from September 27th. And Jeff, you'll be abstaining from that. Thank you. Motion? Thank you, Robin. Second. Thanks, Dave. Any edits? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to board recognition.
So several unit members have asked to be on the agenda tonight to say a few words in recognition of our school board. So at this point, if anyone wants to go first, please feel free. Looks like there's a race to the podium, and Scott's in second. Christy wins. Steph, all right.
4th year in a row, I'm first. I'd like to wish you a happy Board of Ed Appreciation Week. Thank you for all you do. And I would like to read a statement from our POP unit. The members of the Pittsford Educational Office Professionals recognize the significance of the many and varied duties and responsibilities assumed by the Pittsford Central School Board of Education at all levels of the educational process. In grateful recognition of the unselfish and dedicated service that the Board of Ed provides to the Pittsford schools, POP has donated $100 to the Student Opportunity Fund. We acknowledge and appreciate the commitment and contributions of the members of the Board of Ed. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Stephanie Warshall. I'm the Executive Vice President of PDTA, and I'm here to express my sincere gratitude on behalf of our entire membership. We thank you for supporting what we do as educators. We're so appreciative of the dedication you have in serving our district and the commitment you have made to making it an equitable environment for all. In keeping with that shared value, the PDTA will be making a donation in your honor to the Pittsford Education Foundation and Pittsford Youth Services. Members of our representative assembly have written you personalized messages in the cards at your seats. We know these sentiments are shared by many. There just wasn't enough room on the card. So thank you and happy Board Appreciation Week.
Thank you. My name is Scott Barker. I represent all the great administrators in our district, and I'm proud to be in front of you today to recognize all of you as board members for Appreciation Week. I was thinking it probably should be a lot longer than a week, huh? We should probably have like a month or a year. But on behalf of our district administrators, we'd like to thank you for all that you do for our community and schools. For the PIG students that are in the room right now, these are all volunteer positions. And this is a group of people that work extremely hard to provide you as students with the best opportunities and best education that they can provide and support for all of you. Your modeling of leadership, which includes your collaboration, your communication, your never-ending work, is seen by all of us and really appreciated for all that you do. So on behalf of our PDAA, we will present a monetary donation to the Student Opportunity Fund to help enhance your vision to help our students in the district. So thank you very much.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay? I'm Colleen Emmons, PTSA President-elect. Lori is the PTSA President, and she is at Supersale. So divide and conquer tonight. Yeah, we're excited to have it back. I'd like to read a statement. Happy Board of Education Recognition Week. I agree. It should probably be far more than a week. On behalf of Pittsford Central PTSA, thank each one of you on the Board of Education for all the hours you volunteer in document review, training, collaborations, school tours, meetings, to serve our Pittsford school community. The Pittsford Board of Education is focused on many dimensions of excellence in Pittsford schools, and through actions and policy is committed to our students while recognizing the job is never complete as you adapt to student needs. We very appreciate your commitment to continual improvement alongside all that we can celebrate, and there is so much to celebrate. In your honor, Pittsford Central PTSA has pledged a donation to Pittsford Education Foundation in support of your commitment to the success of our Pittsford students. Thank you for your continued dedication to Pittsford Central School District. Thank you.
All of the dates are in the agenda. Please make note of the meetings that you should be attending. And from the information exchange, I believe, Emily, you're going to report out? Or Dave's going to report out? Okay.
We had 2 information exchange meetings since the last board meeting here. The first on 9/13 was a meeting on school safety and mental health. I think the big takeaways here were that a lot of the initiatives related to equity, inclusivity, and SEL are some of the biggest drivers, both of physical and mental safety in our schools. So we talked a lot about that. We talked about some of the tools and themes around student voice, one trusted adult, which is something I know we're pretty active on, resource mapping, as well as SEL screeners were initiatives that have worked, I think, very well. They also connected back to our threat assessment workshop over the summer, so it was interesting to see what was being discussed that information exchange at a high level of relevance to our workshop. Shannon was also one of the presenters and leaders of it, which was great, super valuable. And I think it also illustrated for me, which is my first information exchange meeting, just that we're, not only, I think, really setting the way here, but also, we're kind of a leader in the county. So that was really reinforcing and positive to see. So I enjoyed that. Great work with that. And then the second meeting was on 10/12. That was the Community Together for Education overview. So that was interesting. We talked a lot about, it was my first exposure to ACT, which is really a collaboration between school, local business, and the broader community to sort of focus on the economic impact of our schools. I think a lot of times the community's exposure to the business of the school is usually through taxes, whereas ACT tries to help understand the value that we're delivering and the ROI to both the business community and the broader community. A couple key facts that I thought were really interesting. Monroe schools are a $2 billion industry. Monroe schools employ 25,000 people. We're effectively the second largest employer in the region behind U of R. Also what was really interesting is 88% of our collective budget goes directly back into the community in terms of salaries, services that we purchase, the way that our funds actually continue to sort of accelerate the economy. So it's really interesting, and there was other ways that we can contribute to and get involved and act. So those things we can explore as a board. Thanks.
Excellent, thank you. Renee, going to report out on the Audit Oversight Committee?
You can pass.
Come on first so she can pass.
Yeah. So we met, it was about a week ago, 2 weeks ago now. I am going to pass because Mike has a lot of great information that he would like to share, so I'm going to send it on over to him.
I'd be happy to share some brief comments about the district's finances. Yeah, so on September 28th, we met with the district's external auditor, Tom Zuber, and we went through, really the details of the district's financial statements. The most important aspects of the audit is that there's an unmodified opinion. There's no deficiencies that are found. And there's no disagreements with management. So those are really the magic words to hear during the discussion. And Tom was very complimentary about how the business office, was prepared and handled, the district's audit. The balance sheet is really stable at this point, and we grew fund balance and reserves, and that's really, a position of strength in the district by $4.7 million. So we're able to enhance funds like the capital reserve, that we can use to offset the tax impact on future capital projects. So we look to see what the performance is, revenue over expenditures. Revenue, again, came in higher than expected, so that's a real strength. And really that was, due to the federal funds, infusion of federal dollars for COVID, and also higher than expected sales tax receipts from the county because of the online aspect that was added recently. So that was, so that was about $4 million over what was expected in revenue. Expenditures, the variance between the budget and actual was a little bit lower than in the previous year. So that's something that we really want to keep an eye on, but not to be unexpected, because now the budget is, back to, normal operating, I'll say, with coming back to almost a full year in the previous year. So we'll keep an eye on the trend. The year-over-year expenditure is about $144 million, but just in the year-over-year comparison, in the previous year we spent 94.8% of the budget. Last year we spent 96.2% of the budget. So we'll continue to monitor that trend, especially for inflationary reasons, because that margin is going to start to tighten. So we'll have to just keep an eye on that. And again, with inflationary pressures, what you are going to get for your original budget obviously, could be impacted. Nothing significant to report in the other funds, other than, as I mentioned, that infusion of COVID money. So the first CARES Act funds, that's reported out in September. The next round of funding will be reported out next September. And then ARP funds will conclude
in September 24. So we work together collaboratively as an administrative team to make sure that we're administering those funds, as appropriate, for their purposes. I'd encourage, if you have a chance, look at page 13 about factors bearing on the district's future. That's always interesting to know what's happening. So we know that, for example, there's an electric bus mandate, that's coming down the road. So we're going to have to make sure that we're appropriately reserved, especially for our bus reserve in the future. So there's items like that. And then, as many of you already know, there's a significant debt payment that we actually just made, and so our debt service is really going to decrease. And so we're in talks to look at a future capital project that corresponds with the building condition survey. So there's items like that we mention as management to make sure that, that's publicly disclosed. So that's really it on the external audit. And just touching on the rest of the meeting, there's the internal audit and risk assessment, and you'll be voting on that later as well as part of tonight's package. So we had a nice conversation about that, and it's really detailed and prioritized. And the decision was made to look at purchasing. And so that's an area that we'll focus on, that the committee thought that that's the direction we should go this year. And then, probably the other aspect worth mentioning is the bus reserve, those reserves, those capital reserve funds authorized by the board, authorized by the voters, that has, we filled that up. And so we're going to have to do a new one, and we're going to have to establish the limit of the new one, especially, looking at the future of electric buses and the cost differential between, what we're paying for a bus now and what we'll pay for a bus, say in 7 or 8 years. So that's something that we'll have on this year's budget vote. We'll have to have a new capital reserve established and authorized. So that concludes my report.
I'm going to circle back for 1 second. I apologize, Emily, that I skipped over your report on Labor Relations Committee.
No problem. September 21st was our first meeting for Labor Relations. We had Mike Pirro, Mike Vespi as part of the panelists, along with a number of administrators and the superintendent from Hilton, and the discussion was around supply chain challenges following the pandemic. A lot of the discussion focused on capital improvements projects, which is very relevant to us. As we all are familiar with, there's widespread shortages in construction materials and staffing as well as equipment. So this raises the cost for projects and also impacts the timeline for these projects in a lot of different ways. So districts like us deciding how best to time their project will have to balance the current high costs of construction while maintaining level debt in our debt schedule. Because of these long and variable lead times associated with construction, districts also might want to consider paying higher rates for construction to take place during the school year in B and C shifts, since it's a lot more difficult to just do the construction during the summer as we usually would. Given all of these challenges, there was a suggestion that maybe a district with a large capital improvement project might want to consider contracting out for someone to get into the weeds of the project and sort of anticipate all of these new logistical challenges. So we might want to think about that someday as that comes up. Food service is also a sticking point these days. There's a staffing shortage and a food shortage. I think the panelists cited that there was a 20% increase in food prices this year compared to a typical 3 to 4% increase, so that's huge. The food services director at Hilton also noted that they had been contracting with multiple vendors, both local and large corporations, in order to stock their cafeterias during the food shortages that they've been experiencing. Unfortunately, they also cited that manufacturers have been pulling out of K through 12 contracts. So that's another wrinkle. The next labor relations meeting is tomorrow, so I can update you on that next time.
Thank you, Emily. Dates to remember. On November 3rd, we'll be visiting Jefferson Road Elementary. Quick show of hands of who's going to be there. Okay, great. And then our next regularly scheduled board meeting is November 8th. With that, we'll move on to the financial report. Mr. Vespi.
Okay, first on the agenda is the acceptance of the treasurer's reports. there's a wealth of information in the report. It can be overwhelming. So obviously, in preparation, I went through the reports. And what I would note is that, there's a monthly budget status report that's really valuable. And probably the most significant aspect of it so far that you'll notice in a kind of year-over-year change is the Fed has raised rates on a historic basis. And, we've got about a $50,000 budget for interest earnings, and we're already, on target to do much better in that area. So on the flip side of some of the negative, sentiment that's out there in the market, we can actually invest our cash flow, and you'll see that as part of the report, as you go through it. The July Treasurer's report the June 30th report matches to the audit. And then, of course, July starts the new year. And the other thing you'll notice in July and August is that the food service dollar amounts are negative until the revenue comes in. And thanks for highlighting some of the challenges that we have in terms of costs. We did have some retirements, so costs aren't as high as in previous years, but we certainly are facing a labor shortage in food service right now. And so, we've got to keep a close eye on that. I always, take a look at the reserve funds too, and you'll notice that, again, that ties out to the audit, about $39.8 million in reserve funds. In August, there was a sales tax payment and a revenue that came in. It's really deferred revenue from the prior year, so that helps cash flow. And really, nothing else to notice, in terms of the payroll disbursements, about $1.7 million a year, and the extra class and scholarship fund, while it's separate, that's certainly stable with, no activity over the summer. So happy to answer any questions, in the future, especially for, some of the new board members, let me know if you have any questions. That concludes my report on that.
Okay, can I get a motion on the treasurer's report? Thank you, Jeff.
Second.
Thank you, Robin. I'm sorry, Renee. Any questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.
Extra classroom report, I've previously mentioned as part of the treasurer's packet, even though it is, sent to you separately.
Excellent. Can I get a motion on that, please? Thank you. Emily, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Back to you.
Okay, yep. Next is the external audit management letter resolution, and I covered that as part of the AOC debrief, and so nothing further report from that standpoint.
Excellent. Can I get a motion on the external audit and management letter? Thank you, Jeff. Second, Renee. Any questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Corrective action?
Yeah, there was one minor item, or actually two minor items that weren't material, but payments that went to an individual that couldn't be tied out to an existing contract or memorandum of agreement. So very easy fix. So we worked with HR to put together a corrective action plan, and that has to be noted with a corrective date and sent to the state education department. So it's really just part of that formal process. And then the minutes and the decision are uploaded into the portal as a matter of that corrective action. So that's what the next agenda item is.
Excellent. Can I get a motion on the correction action plan resolution? Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Jeff. Any questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Again, the risk assessment report was covered previously in our discussion.
Okay, excellent. Can I get a motion on the risk assessment report approval? Thank you. And thank you, Sarah. Any questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. And one more.
Tax, sir.
Oh, transportation.
Yes, sir. The transportation services agreement is to make sure that we get our students transported to school when Rochester City's closed. So thanks to Shana for bringing that to our attention, and we went out and got pricing on that, and this is part of the approval process when we go out with a transportation contract.
May I please get a motion on the transportation services contract? Thank you, Renee. Thank you, Sarah. Any questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to the Human Resources Report. Mr. Clark.
Good evening. First, for your consideration, we have the professional staff report. You'll see 1 administrator salary adjustment, 3 professional staff appointments, 4 SRP appointments, 1 SRP resignation for retirement with 12.5 years of service, 4 SRP resignations. We have winter coaching salaries and volunteers, and unified bowling coaches salaries.
Excellent. May I please get a motion on the professional staff report? Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Robin. All those, any questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is passed.
Thank you. Next for your consideration is the support staff report. We have 2 clerical appointments, 1 clerical resignation, 1 clerical resignation for retirement with 12.5 years of service, 2 transportation appointments, 3 transportation resignations, 1 custodial maintenance salary adjustment, 6 summer helper resignations, 1 food service worker appointment, and 1 food service worker resignation.
Okay, may I please have a motion on the support staff report? Thank you, Dave. Second. Thank you, Emily. Any questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried.
Thank you. Next for your consideration is a civil service title change for senior computer application specialist. This is a new title. It's not a new person per se. It's just a new title.
Okay, can I get a motion on the civil service title change? Thank you. Thanks, Emily. Any questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. Next for your consideration is the approval of the bus drivers and attendants contract. So you'll see it's a 4-year contract retroactive to July 1st with a salary and benefits package that will allow us to be competitive and attract new drivers and retain existing drivers.
Thank you. Approval of the bus drivers and attendants contract. Thank you and thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is passed.
Thank you. Almost done. Okay. Finally, for your consideration is increasing starting rates for school aides. These are our lunch and recess monitors. They're currently at $13.90, and we'd like to increase to $15 per hour.
Okay, can I get a motion on approval of starting salaries for school aides? Thank you and thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Curriculum report, Ms. Ward.
Good evening. I'm very pleased to welcome here tonight Casey Sanderson and Christy Birch to present to the board a proposal for a new course entitled Data-Driven Business Analysis. This is actually a significant overhaul of an existing course, and it's a big enough overhaul that it is required to go through our new course proposal process. While they're getting situated up there, I just want to give you just a little bit of background without stealing any of their thunder. Last year, Casey was here to present to the Board of Education the process that the business department went through to get certified by the New York State Education Department as a CTE qualified program. This course proposal is one of many direct outgrowths of that process, and I know that they'll talk about that a little bit. The entire course proposal is in the board's packet, so there's a lot of information for you in there to take a look at between tonight and the next time you meet when we ask for action on this. But I just want to point out my appreciation for the thoroughness with which this proposal was put together, and the fact that since the course title is Data-Driven Business Analysis, you'll notice that they have drawn from multiple data sources to inform their decision to come forward with this course recommendation. So Casey is our standards leader for business education, and Christy is a colleague at Mendon High, and I'm really pleased to have you both here to share this good work with us. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. So I do just want to take a minute to say thank you for this opportunity to be here tonight. This was a process that we had started initial discussions in just the days before COVID shutdown. So it has been definitely a while in the making, and so it feels good to be at this point to see it come to fruition tonight.
Yes, and thank you. I'm Casey Sanderson. As Melanie said, I'm the business standards leader. And as Melanie said, a year ago, actually it was in October, I remember, because it was the same 27 people from Park Road that were here sharing. And I just want you to know, next time I will bring more business teachers with us. Yes. But, and when we went to the state for the CTE, part of the process is that we have an exterior board, an exterior group that we bring together to review our curriculum. So, and that includes college professors, it includes teachers at other high schools, it includes local business professionals, it includes a wide variety. The state gives us a list of suggested people to be on it, and we had about 9 people that were on this. And one of the suggestions they came with is that our program is very rich, but one of the areas that we were lacking was a kind of business decision-making class. And that kind of was the start, with Christy also teaching our business analysis class, really about us looking for this new class proposal.
So we'll start with just a little bit of the anecdotal data and kind of the history of this progression. So in its truest sense, I have been a business student since my high school days at Spencerport. So I remember this class. The initial iteration was referred to as BABCA, was the abbreviation, and the idea was, as distributive ed transitioned to business ed, this would be a course that would allow students an introduction to business principles, but also give them the opportunity to pursue and explore computer applications as well. So in its initial form, this class lived very separately. It was never designed to integrate the business principles along with the computer application skills. And therefore, as we saw time go by and computers become more of a part of our regular practice and the need for a stronger business education program, the course did evolve from there. So we currently offer business analysis, which I am proud to teach this semester, and see one in the audience is a familiar face. And we also have an advanced Microsoft applications class as well that I see a few past members here tonight. So to really do justice to the rigor and the relevance of the subject matter, they became 2 separate courses. We have business analysis and we have advanced Microsoft applications. And what we have found is that, again, those 2 ideas are living separately. And in my experience, teaching both courses, but also from the research that you will see in your packets, that can no longer be the case. These are 2 ideas that really need to be presented together, and in the course, you know, as it stands today, we just don't have the time to do that justice. In advanced Microsoft applications, we do teach Microsoft Excel, and it's only a small piece because we have to cover all pieces of the Office suite of programs. So yes, we do Word, we do Excel, we do PowerPoint, and we do Access, but we really would like to focus on the idea that we can bring these 2 subject matters together with this new course, Data-Driven Business Analysis. As you know from your work, and we know from our work, and any person out in the world, data is no longer reactive. So we took that idea when working on this course proposal as well, that the data supports us to be proactive in developing this course.
So this is the course description of the new name course, or the course of change of greater than 40%. And really, we had lots of different iterations. I know a couple of years ago we sat down with Dr. Kimmerer and looked through some studies of what was out there and what kids were taking at the college level, and again, a lot of that information will be in the full course proposal. But really what we wanted to do is take the opportunity, like Christy said, is that we had this business analysis class was really looking at what case studies of what businesses had done, right? So that we can look at how did Kodak deal with the digital camera? How did Xerox work with, digital scanning technologies. But it was really looking at a case study and seeing what they did do. Would you agree or disagree with their decision almost after the fact? And what we're really excited about with this data-driven business analysis class is the predictive ability for kids to do those next generation skills, to really be able to be forward-thinking with their ability to be critical thinking and problem solving, be creative and innovative, and to apply data to making the decisions and the skills enable for them to do those communication, collaboration, predictive skills.
So that brings us into the why now. We shared a little bit about the anecdotal data, and now here is where the meat and potatoes comes in. Through our research, going as far to our New York State CTE State Representative Michael Lamastra, there has been back and forth conversations with him with regards to the numbers of students enrolled currently in a computer applications class, which again, you will see that as part of your packet as well. And really the numbers support a growing need for this type of curriculum. So as Jackie had mentioned earlier in the Park Road presentation, those New York State computer science and digital fluency standards really are knocking on our doorstep at this point. And by 2024, we are expected to have a K-12 rollout plan so that all subject areas are addressing these standards. And certainly as business teachers, many of our courses that we currently teach will fall under the computer science umbrella, but this new course design will allow us to be proactive and really be one of the first, based on conversations and data at the state level, in the state to pursue a course like this. So we will really be proactively applying these standards to the coursework as opposed to retrofitting our other courses to these standards. The graduate survey results, again, having met with Dr. Kimmerer at the end of last year, shows that our students are looking for more opportunities to apply these critical thinking skills before they get to the workplace. And coupled with that, so many, over 80%, express the importance of collaboration and communication, along with using Excel as part of their regular practice. And again, going back to that industry need and coupling that with the comments we received as part of the CTE proposal, this is just part of our world. And so at this point, I think the timing is right to offer this to our kids.
This is just a really quick snapshot of some of those of the computational thinking and digital literacy standards, specifically ones that we think will apply greatly to the class. There's a full list is in the full course proposal for you that you can look at. But again, it's just the business department in the Pittsford Central Schools has really always been a leader in the business departments across Monroe County. Between the number of classes we teach, the offerings we have, the feedback we get from our students and our parents about how well we did, it's everything kind of lined up perfectly for us to change and to move forward with this new class.
Thank you, everybody.
So Casey and Christy, again, thank you very much for being here. Our hope is that the board will approve this overhaul to the course to be able to put in place this new course offering for our students, starting with the 23-24 school year. So if you have any questions as you review the entire packet before the next board meeting, I'd be happy to reach out to Casey or Christy for any answers on your behalf. So thank you very much for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So students that are here for school, this is a longer than normal board meeting with so many presentations. So I'd like to also benefit you for staying and not sneaking out without signatures, because you need signatures, I believe. So if you want, at this point, come on up and go to one of the adults around this table. We're going to sign off on your papers, and you can take off if you'd like. Okay, let's do that right now. You're welcome to stay for the other presentations if you like. Okay. Anyone need signatures? You're good? Just come on up, we'll sign for you. That's funny.
Picture's worth 1,000 words.
Just so you know, you can click on this and drag it a little bit as you go down.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
I see those other kids.
All right, have a good night, everyone. We're going to go ahead and continue with our next presentation.
Thank you. And this will be a pretty quick one. Again, there's a lot of information in your packet related to this, and I'm really here to highlight one particular piece of this work. So one of the district equity goals that you as the Board of Education approved last year was for us to create and implement equity analysis protocols for all curricular and non-curricular learning experiences. Given the importance of the instructional materials that we put in front of our students every day, as is related to our equity work, we really tackled this first protocol as perhaps our biggest protocol first, which is to look at a process for how we review all of our instructional materials to make sure that they meet all of the goals that we have for those materials. So it was a very extensive process involving a lot of research, a lot of stakeholder groups, and all of the work was really anchored in our policy 8340, which calls out the criteria that we should be looking at relative to all instructional materials that we put in front of our students. Things like the content alignment, the credibility of the authors, the price, sort of the whole gamut. But the one piece that was relatively new in that policy was looking at any instructional materials for the level of cultural and linguistic responsiveness. So you have two items in your packet. One is a very comprehensive instructional materials protocol. It starts with a blue cover sheet. That protocol is intended to be used under the guidance of our district standards leaders when they are working with committees to identify and approve curriculum resources that would be embedded in our curriculum, so things that would be utilized by every student taking the course, no matter who their teacher is. And that's a very significant portion of our materials, but it by no means covers all of the instructional materials that are put in front of kids on a daily basis. So as we were going through the process of developing that very comprehensive protocol, one of the standards leaders, and I think he's left now, but I actually think it was Casey, said, "This is really great and really helpful, but would be really wonderful is if I just had like a one-page cheat sheet that I could stick up on my bulletin board or in my planner that would just help me think about some of these important things before I pulled something and put it in front of kids." Because as you know, teachers are making day-to-day decisions about things that they put in front of students, and they always do it with the best of intention. We always want to be putting current things in front of our kids, but sometimes we don't know what we don't know. So an outgrowth of that comprehensive protocol was the development of this quick reference guide, and we sort of just have come to be referring to it as the quick guide. And it's really designed as a series of questions all through the lens of diversity and representation. The goal is not that a teacher would pull out a resource or an article or a video or whatnot and be able to look at that resource and answer yes to every single question on this list. In fact, I would say that there's no resource to which anybody could answer yes to every one of these questions, because there really are no perfect resources out there. The goal is that we begin to get familiar with these kinds of questions as we think about materials, so that we are developing a common set of equity lenses that we are asking all teachers to use when they're thinking about things that they put in front of their students. So this has been a very flexible and responsive kind of document as we've created it. We actually updated it as recently as last Thursday afternoon when we had a conversation again with standards leaders, and something came up and we said, wow, I don't think that what's currently on this document would have caught that. So let's think about what we're learning as we think about materials, so we made an adjustment to this. So the categories that you see on here are also reflected in that very comprehensive tool that's in your packet. So these are meant to work hand in hand. And again, as I said, they're really intended, it's not intended to be a checklist. It's intended to begin to train our brains to think about materials before we put them in front of students. There was a lot of conversation as we developed both the comprehensive protocol and particularly this quick guide about the fact that any one material on its own cannot possibly meet all of the needs, answer all of these questions. So helping teachers think about, if you're putting a resource in front of students and maybe it meets some of these criteria but not others, what else are you putting in front of kids to balance those resources? So thinking about resources not as individual items, but as a whole, as a package. What else is part of this unit? What other things will students experience this year? What other resources will be using in this course in order to provide kids with the rich experience that we want to provide them with? So this is a tool that now lives in our Equity Toolkit online. I've asked standards leaders to share it with teachers at every opportunity. We've talked about it at our SLT and ELT meetings, so we're trying to get it out in people's hands with the idea that, again, if we can all begin to develop this common framework as we look at our materials, then we are less likely to put something in front of kids and then have a regret about it afterwards. So proud of this work, proud of the work that the standards leaders did to help develop this, and pleased to be able to share it with you tonight. Okay.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Melanie. I know when I read through it, I thought it was a great collective barometer for someone to use as they're looking through different things. So I thought that was really nice.
Thank you. I think barometer is a nice way to think about it, Ted. Thank you.
Okay. Special education report, Ms. Woods.
Yes, the CSE and CPSE recommendations are on the consent agenda.
Thank you. Moving on to the superintendent's report. Mr. Pirro.
There is a need for an executive session this evening to discuss a personnel matter.
Okay.
Can I get a motion?
You sure can. A motion? Second? Thank you, Jeff. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
You'll see 4 policy recommendations as a first reading. If there are any questions at this point?
I do. I have one.
Sure.
So it is, I'm sorry, give me a quick second.
That's okay.
All right, it is 8330. And I've read it and reread it, and there's quite a bit to it, and I think it's pretty good and solid. So my first question is, did this come from BOCES as far as a recommendation to move forward, right? And are other districts looking at something similar?
Yes. So the biggest part to this, one of the biggest parts, is the introduction of the word controversial.
Yes.
So there are a lot of things that are controversial that we have our kids discuss in class and debate, and this provides a framework and support for what we expect that to look like moving forward.
Moving forward, okay. So then my other thing was looking ahead at the evaluation tool, the request to evaluate. What is the ultimate goal that BOCES was thinking about? Like, what are they looking for in an outcome like this? If someone fills this out, what are they hoping the result would be for districts?
Is this for an objection?
Correct.
Do you want to answer that, Melanie?
Sure. So I think first it's important to understand that the policy, regulation, and forms that you see here, while there's a lot of red, they're really not very different from our current policy and regulation and form. They're updated, they're more detailed. There's a lot of information that currently sits in regulation that has been moved into the policy. So it's just kind of laid out a little bit more cleanly. If anybody, a community member, a parent, et cetera, files an objection using this process to get to the point where they fill out the form, they submit the form, then we are required by our policy to have a committee meet. The committee is chaired by myself. It involves the building principal from the building at which the complaint originated, the standards leader for library and media specialists, likely the librarian from the building of origin, the classroom teacher, perhaps another standards leader, depending on where the complaint is coming from, and the person who filed the complaint. All members of the committee are required by policy to read or review the material in its completion, have conversation, and make a determination as to whether, in fact, the material is removed from, eliminated from a curriculum, removed from the classroom, removed from the library, or remains. So the goal is that there's an informed conversation about the material and a professional collaborative decision is made about whether it stays or goes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
As you heard Mark Balsamo talk earlier, there are field trips going on. There are 2 field trips that I'm going to request your approval for. The first one is a field trip for Sutherland High School softball this spring to Orlando, Florida.
Next.
I have just a quick question. There was one part that was not filled out for the softball, and that was it's where it says, is a nurse needed to attend the trip? Are you aware of the process for collecting, administering, distributing, and securing medication? There were no answers to that, so I was wondering why. Is it because there's no need for that on this trip specifically?
No,
Okay.
that's actually not why. It's because this was submitted, I think, at the last second yesterday to make it to this board meeting so they can make plans. But they will make sure of that.
Okay.
Yeah,
With that clarification, can I get a motion on the softball trip? Jeff, Robin, thank you. Any discussion beyond that? All those in favor? Anybody against? Motion carried.
And then the second one is another trip to Orlando for Sutherland High School baseball.
Can I get a motion on the baseball trip? Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Emily. Any discussion?
Can I ask about insurance? So who is doing the insurance for these trips now? I just remember a few years ago there had been some issues in the past, so I'm just curious to who is taking care of the insurance aspect of it in case anything happens on the trip, cancellations, so forth.
So I don't think I could have made it any more clear that these are all contingent on parent meetings with a highlight to the insurance part of it. I'm not sure if each trip, who the insurance carrier are, but it's going to be very well known to families that they are encouraged to take insurance. What are the ramifications if they don't take insurance? What happens if the trip is canceled? What happens if their child gets sick? What about deposits? What about air flights getting canceled? All of that will be reviewed in advance.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried.
And the last thing I have is just a thank you for and to express my board appreciation. And I think it's really important for the common person to understand that you're not just here for board meetings. It's so much more than that, and I think that you go so above and beyond what is expected of any board member for any school board. So here is my top 21. Attending information exchange, labor relations, legislative steering committee meetings. You do that in addition to this. You serve on the Audit Oversight Committee, Advocacy Committee, Teacher Center Committee. You tour our 10 buildings. That's 10 times at 7 a.m., followed by a gathering with staff. Being well read prior to board meetings. Reading between 150 and 400 pages of information before we get here. I think today was 380 something. Staying late through executive sessions like we will have this evening. Attending multiple professional development retreats throughout the year. Your 2-day summer workshop and an additional summer retreat day this summer. Attending special events like this week alone, homecoming parade, boys volleyball game for senior night. And you do all of these things throughout the year, from the duck drop to musicals to sporting events to classroom visits to candlelight night and everything in between. attending our town, village, school district meetings, our vice president and president having morning meetings with the superintendent, graduation, attendance, retirement, sports excellence banquets, all nights and full days that you're giving up, our power hours, our forums, unified sports for bowling and for basketball, visiting classrooms to recognize staff through Honor an Educator, attending financial training, attending our Saturday legislative breakfast, attending our opening day ceremony in the auditorium, meeting with various stakeholders, and often not hearing positive feedback, but keep going back and listening. Support various service projects that we have. You write articles for our newsletters, and you donate funds to staff and students that are in need. And I wanted to end with that because I think that's that human touch that a lot of people don't see that you do. One of our board members this week gave me $150 to go shopping for a student that had no food in his home. And that's something that you all do at different times because you care for kids and you care for humanity. So on a weekly basis, you do so much, and it's so appreciated. You treat your roles as a full-time job, yet you're volunteers. You're student-centered. You care deeply for every child's success and for every child's well-being. You model citizenship. You model what respectful dialogue should look like. You follow up on concerns that are brought to you from stakeholders. In our community, our students, certainly all of us, are very fortunate for your commitment and oversight, and I thank you for all you do. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
This. You have gifts of cash coming from me, and they're just not here right now. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Can I get a motion on the consent agenda? Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Renee. She came in first. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That will carry. Thank you. Any old business? Any new business? We did not have any submissions for public comment. So with that, I will.
I can't submit a public comment because I didn't know what to submit a public comment, but if I could just take, won't even be 2 minutes.
The process for public comment is.
The problem is I would comment on a policy if I knew what the policies were, but they're not available to be read. So there's always a reading listed in here, but no parent or community member can comment on the policies until they're enacted as policies. And then
The policies that came out tonight are available now for public comment. Nothing's passed tonight, so you have.
How do I get the policies?
They're on the online. All the policies are online, available on the website.
Been voted in are available on the policy
Yes, they'll be available after tonight.
for the second reading.
Yes. That's why we do this tonight, so we give you the opportunity to review them. Very fair question. So, with that, and there being no public comment submissions, I will entertain a motion for adjournment. Thank you, and thank you. And with that, our next meeting is November 8th. Thank you.
An executive. No, I think we're good.